The time is 4:36 p.m., March 1st, Central Standard Time in Texas. My name is Mickey. I'm your humble producer.
My name is Dealer.
And I'm Coolhand.
And welcome to another installment of the Backyard Bullshit Podcast. Our first topic of the day is a stunning announcement for Dallas football fans as Jason Witten has decided to come out of retirement to return to the Dallas Cowboys as their star tight end. What do y'all think about this initially?
I think he really didn't enjoy being an announcer. I think it really bothered him. He wasn't really that good, let's be honest about it. And this is kind of a way for him to get back into football because I think he really wants to be a coach. And this will allow him to be a pseudo coach on the sideline this year, and maybe next year start moving into full-time coaching.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because we had a huge Cowboy Rides Away ceremony just for him to...
Right. Very, very Floyd Mayweather of him.
Yeah, I remember watching that press conference as it was happening, and everyone was sad, and now the reverse is happening.
Let's go ahead and just do, go find some of our old sports heroes that might be able to still swing it or kick it and see if they can come back.
Right?
It's interesting you mentioned that because when Jason Witten announced his return to football, the old defensive player DeMarcus Ware made a post on his social media saying that, hey, should I come back? I mean, I'm working out. I feel really good and stuff.
Yeah, and to that extent, Michael Young also said that he could come back. He said, Michael Young went on Twitter and said, I can come back and hit 147 and 2 home runs per year if you guys want to sign.
Especially for, a nice $10 million a year or something to be a player coach, essentially.
Essentially, that's an overpaid cheerleader.
Exactly.
So, with the current Cowboys situation, the Cowboys, a lot of their injured players are coming back. Our multi-Pro Bowl center is coming back from after recovering from his disease that sidelined him for the entire season. The Cowboys do have 3 other tight ends. The main one, Blake Jarwin, actually being a key player in some of the latter games of the regular season. Do you think they're going to put Jason Witten right in as a starter, or do you think he's going to maybe come in every once in a while?
Say that name again?
Blake Jarwin. He was the rookie tight end.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Jason Witten re-signed so he can come back and play, because Blake Jarwin's your best tight end. I know he had a couple good games at the end of the year, but a lot of that I think has to do with Amari Cooper. And so what I really think happened is they didn't believe in any tight ends that were going to be free agents or in the draft this year, so they just stepped it up. $3.5 million is fairly reasonable for a Hall of Fame tight end. And he can get open still. That's all that really matters. He can catch in traffic.
And do you guys think that he can still block? Because that is one of the jobs of a tight end when they're on the offensive line if they're not running a route. Dealer, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a late quarter or, late half addition to the team. And he's just, because you're going to let your young guys start, right? And he's going to try and coach them up. He's going to come in there every once in a while, not consistently starting out there. They're going to try and limit him. And, we're looking at week 4, week 5, he's going to have maybe like lower half or something oblique strain. And he's going to be on the DL the rest of the season. Because, I really don't see this guy stepping up to the line and getting his body, slammed up against constantly as it gets deeper into the season.
Maybe play him less in the beginning of the season and kind of grow it as they get closer to the playoffs if they're on their way to the playoffs.
Yeah, and in that role, he'd probably be more of a coach and, only would – because if you're really looking at it, right, you want to have your young guy out there, right, and you want him coaching up him. And, and then it comes to the whole thing of, do you put Witten out there for the show and pony games that don't really matter? or do you want him out there for the really tough and gritty games? And to me, I'd rather have my young guy out there learning how to do it and Witten kind of coaching him through it, and then you might give him a playoff or here or two or like that, and then say, all right, well, let's send Witten out there and let the young kid watch what Witten does. But you don't want to leave Witten out there too much that he gets demolished, because he's not gonna cure our problems.
I've heard rumors that he's going to play about 20 snaps a game, so at least to start the season. So that's about a quarter of the snaps. So that's not, it's not a lot, it's not a little, but he'll at least be able to make an impact just playing those few, when you need a 3rd and 5 catch.
Who knows? We might be going out there at Valley Ranch and hearing breaking news that the guy can't even run anymore, or sprained something.
Sure, well, maybe they'll try to run the Patriots offense with 2 tight ends.
Well, we all remember what happened to the last Cowboy who decided to wait a little bit and then reappear suddenly in the NFL. Saints.
Yeah, that didn't go over so well. He didn't even make it through the, 3 practices?
Yeah, and practices are a whole lot different than whenever you're just feeling good in the backyard with the boys throwing it around than, actually getting your body through the rigmarole of NFL.
But I also believe that Jason Witten has probably done a better job of keeping himself in shape than Dez did. That's just the kind of person Witten is. And he's got this entire time, he's going to have OTAs, he's going to have all that stuff, training camp to actually get back into shape. Dez tried to come in the middle of the season.
And y'all are talking about Witten's injury potential. To close out this segment, I just wanted to mention that Jason Witten, in his entire career with the Cowboys, has only missed 1 game.
With a broken jaw.
Yes.
But,
so my question to y'all to close out this segment is that with his time away from football, do you think his likelihood of getting injured is going to be higher? And if so, by how much? Or do you think it's going to stay around the same when he was still playing for the boys on a regular basis? Let's go to Coolhand first.
Well, it's really going to depend on how much shape he can get back into. He's older now. I mean, he's 38-ish, something like that. And it's harder to get back into shape the older you get. And, yeah, the year off may have done some good for his body, but it's also not used to taking hits, and that could be detrimental. The real answer is it depends on if he can get in shape or not.
Yeah, I think we're all going to have to wait and just see how well he does in the first few appearances.
Yes, these first appearances will be crucial for Jason Witten's role moving forward with this upcoming season. So, we're going to bring this topic to a close here, and we're going to talk about some other major assignments in pro sports, mainly the signings of Manny Machado and Bryce Harper to the San Diego Padres and Philadelphia Phillies, respectively. Now, Dealer, I think it's fair to say you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we saw Boris absolutely play the MLB and the MLB owners like a fiddle. The entire time, all you heard about was dead market, dead market, dead market. And then you got these massive $300 million contracts dropping out like bombs.
My only thing I'll say about this is I feel like Bryce could have gotten more per year. I mean, he turned down a 4-year, $180 million deal with the Dodgers. And that's $45 million a year. That's not chump change. Whereas the deal he got with the Phillies, I know it's way longer. I mean, 13 years is ridiculous. The CBA shouldn't allow that to happen. But it's only like $25 million a year plus a bunch of incentives and no opt-out. So I don't know if Bryce did get the best deal. He got the biggest contract of all time, but it's nowhere near the most annual value.
Yeah, I think he went for consistency, finding a good home for a while, something he can count on, instead of going for that large money short term, which would is what the market has been trending toward. Has been short contracts, large amount of monies, like Jed Lowry recently with the Mets. I mean that was what the market's been trending toward. And Bryce Harper said, "No, give me that certainty that I'm going to be in one area." And Manny Machado said, "Nope, I want it all right now."
Well, I mean, 10 years, $300 million is pretty darn good. I mean, it's not a chump change. I know Arenado just signed that real big contract, the extension to stay in Colorado. I guess he set the annual value per position player. But I don't know. I think it was a mistake on Bryce's part because I think he could have got that 180. That's only 150 million less he got for another 9 years. He could have easily made that extra 150 million up after that, and he could have gone to the West Coast like he wanted to, be closer to Vegas is where he's from. And I don't know. I think it was a mistake on his part. I think he held out a little too long.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Bryce would have got that much money. I think he's declining.
You think his stats are declining?
Yeah, for sure. I don't see Bryce Harper, turning it up anymore. I think he's just gonna, maybe we'll see an increase here and a little slight improvement, but other than that.
With these two players signing their major contracts, because both of these contracts are for 10 years, when does the do each of them have a player option, or does the contract say it's a team option after 5 years? What's the situation there?
Machado's is he has a player option, I think, after the 5th or 6th year, and then Bryce Harper's doesn't have any options in it. It only has incentives. So it's a $330 million guaranteed contract.
So that means Bryce Harper is stuck there in Philly if maybe he wants out or maybe he wants to be traded.
Well, I'm sure he can be traded, but it just depends on what his value is going to be at. That's the good thing about it only being a $25 million a year contract. I say only $25 million. It's a more movable contract when it's $25 million a year compared to, $45 million that he would have had with the Dodgers.
Yeah, right. A no trade clause means that, the team cannot trade him without their permission. You can waive your no trade clause like multiple players have, like Coolhand, he agreed that when we were shopping him around that he'd move his no trade clause no matter what, as long as we found a good spot and we talked to him first. So that was great. But so Bryce Harper can definitely end up on another team if he so wishes. But the nice thing is the ball is in Bryce Harper's court. So the Phillies can try and set up as many deals as they want. Whenever Bryce Harper starts hitting, 220, 217, 210, and they're not making it to the postseason, they can try and set up those deals. And Bryce says, nope, well, they're stuck with Bryce. Congratulations.
Right.
Dealer, you said that Bryce's stats were declining. How likely do you think that scenario that you just laid out is? How likely do you think that's going to happen in this upcoming season with the Phillies?
Well, I think he's going to, we're not going to, if he does decline, it's not going to be as noticeable of a decline. It'd probably be just a few little ticks down from what his performance was. I honestly think, and if he goes up, it's only going to be a little bit up. It's because, people say, well, he's going to be going into a, Aaron Nola lineup, with his pitcher. He's got Scherzer. He used to have Scherzer. Okay, well, they just kind of eliminate each other right there. You got people on there. They got JT Realmuto. Okay, well, you had Zimmerman. So you can't say that, well, this Philly team is loaded. So was the Nationals, and he was not providing for them. Just because he moves into a slightly better hitting park doesn't mean we're going to see a whole new, 270 or 260 Bryce Harper. This guy's not going to hit above 255 average next year.
And do y'all...
statement, but I could see where that could happen, for sure. I mean, he's been all over the place in his career. It's been real up and down. His MVP year was unbelievable, but then it was a down year, and then he got hurt the year after that. We'll see. I do think it was a mistake by the Phillies, especially for 13 years. It's just he's going to decline there if they aren't able to manage to trade him. So.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how much the Philadelphia fans are going to tolerate them. These are the fans that throw batteries at players, that throw snowballs at Santa Claus. Yeah. They are some of the worst rated fans in sports. And you think that whenever it comes September And Bryce Harper's batting 212. He's stepping in the batter's box. They're 12 games out of a playoff race. It's September 15th. Do you think that the fans at Citizens Bank Park are going to be cheering Bryce Harper steps in the box? No, they're going to boo him.
Well, he takes things personal too. He's shown that over the years that he takes things when people say things about him personally. So this is not going to go well for him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And he, he's had an attitude from dragging his feet across the Braves logo. From the hair flips, from always say that's a clown move, bro, and all these things. And, I think the funniest thing about it all here is whenever Bryce Harper broke into the major leagues, Cole Hamels intentionally pegged him. And just to say, hey, welcome to the majors, kids. We're not, we don't have to pitch to you just because you demand us to. We don't have to pitch to you. And
right.
Bryce Harper returned the favor by stealing home plate on Cole Hamels. And it's kind of funny that the team that intentionally pegs him whenever he comes up is the team that he ends up signing for. A massive deal.
I was shocked to see that it was Philly. Like, his offers elsewhere just weren't what he wanted. That's the only thing I can think of. Because Philly just seems like the worst place for him to go. It's in the division. He said he wanted to be on the West Coast. Awful fans. But
yeah, I agree. It looks really bad on the Nationals.
Yeah, that they couldn't re-sign him because they basically offered the same deal, a little bit more money per year for like 8 years or 9 years. So it really means that he didn't want to be there. He really wanted to leave.
Now, if the Nationals can go ahead and turn around and lock up Rendon for a long-term deal and say, hey, this is what we were saving our money for, I'm all on board with that. That makes 100%. Because Rendon's a much better player, higher caliber. He doesn't get the spotlight, but boy, does he put up the numbers.
He's a really good player. I actually watched him play a little bit when he was at Rice, and he is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good.
We've been focusing on Bryce Harper for a bit. What about Manny Machado's situation down in San Diego with the Padres? Do y'all have similar feelings about his stats declining, him not being in a good environment fan-wise? Do you think he's going to bolster that team at all? What do y'all think?
Well, there's similar situations. The old got bought out recently, and the new owners have said, we're going to go out and spend money. They bought Eric Hosmer last year, and they've got a ton of talent coming up. I mean, they have maybe the best minor league system in baseball right now. I mean, they got pitching talent, they got fielding talent. It's all over the place there. But are they going to be able to put it together? Because I've been to a game there, and I went and watched the Padres and the Giants, and I didn't realize I wasn't in San Francisco. That's how many Giants fans were there for that game. So they're going to have to overcome that kind of a situation.
Yeah, it's the Padres fan base is pretty much non-existent. I think that this move will help re-energize them after A.J. Preller won the offseason and got nothing in return for that. So, except for just sending away a bunch of prospects. So, I think that this Manny Machado, it's something you can definitely build the Padres around. You can, you can give Fernando Tatis Jr. a person to look up to whenever he's next to him on the diamond for a long time, and that's extremely needed for a lot of successful teams. For whenever their shortstop and third baseman know each other and can work next to each other and get comfortable.
Well, and they have arguably the best defensive catcher in the game right now, in Austin Hedges. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. They are poised to make a run. They're just still young. And I'm not sure they have the starting pitching right now to be able
Definitely, they don't have the starting pitch. They need Dallas Keuchel if they're attempting for a wild card.
Talk about a guy whose value is higher than it should be.
I absolutely agree with that because, if I was a National League team like the Padres, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, let's not sign Dallas Keuchel to his 6-year, $100 million deal that he's asking for because we know the NL East is a heavyweight. We know the NL Central is a heavyweight. You could say that 3 or 4 of those teams in each of those divisions could fight for a wild card. And now you want the Dodgers and the Rockies and the Padres. I mean, still, you're right. You're finally down there to the Padres, and you're saying that you're going to compete for the wild card? Nah, not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a tough year to try to compete for the wild card. It's really a high-end developmental year. I expect him to go closer to 500, and maybe they'll find some starting pitching out of all that youth that they have. But they're really going to make a push for next season, I think.
Yeah, I think that they could even sell away some of their young talent to trade up for some controllable arms. You know, like the Nationals, if their season starts to go belly up, you know, and they wanted to get rid of some of their pitchers that they won't have control over, like a Strasburg, that'd be great.
Oh, that'd be perfect for them because he's from San Diego, went to San Diego State. That's the ideal fit for them.
Now, y'all mentioned that Bryce Harper kind of had a bad reputation when he first came into Major League Baseball, and some of that resentment still kind of lingers on with some of the other players in the league, and even some of the fan bases, and even Dealer. You mentioned it's very possible that the Philadelphia fans could turn on Bryce if he doesn't perform well. Is Manny Machado as reviled as Bryce Harper, or do you think he's in a somewhat safer position reputation-wise?
Well, I think that you know, he's going to be the face of their market, and you know, in case he starts to fail, we've seen that because San Diego is not in the national spotlight, that when their superstars like Will Myers, you know, started to fail, and their moves for Matt Kemp and Craig Kimbrell, those didn't pay off. The national baseball media, they did not focus on, look at the Padres' failures. But that is going to happen to the Phillies. So I think that there's a lot more room for Machado to fail than Bryce Harper to fail.
Well, and part of it, too, is Bryce Harper has been huge since he was in high school. I mean, I remember hearing about him hitting 500-foot home runs and home run derbies and stuff, that, you know, all-American games, things like that. He graduated high school early and went to a junior college so he could be draft eligible sooner. Like, just crazy stuff like that. So he's been in the headlines, and he's been talked about, and he's been the golden boy, quote-unquote, for, you know, even before he got drafted in Major League Baseball. Whereas Manny Machado, even though they were in the same draft, he was the third overall pick, he was, you know, a little bit more in the shadow. He kind of came out of nowhere to be great, whereas Bryce Harper was always expected to be great.
Do you think that's true, Dealer? Do you think that has some truth to it?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. You made a great point there.
Well, we will certainly have our eyes on these two players and to see how their mega contracts unfold. Before we part ways with y'all tonight, Dealer, is it true that you have an announcement for the fans here?
Yeah, stay tuned because we'll be coming to you guys shortly here with an episode regarding a NBA debate between two of our very own here that we've been dangling in front of you for a very, very long time, and it's sure to have lots of fireworks.
In the business, we like to call it a cliffhanger.
Yes, a little tease. So, stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be a bloodbath where we do the very first backyard throwdown. My name's Mickey. Y'all have a good one.
I'm Dealer, and I'm Cash Now.
I'm Coolhand. Y'all enjoy yourselves.
Have a great night, folks, and stay tuned for the next episode.